Hello, my name's Carl. Welcome to my channel, Worth a Watch. This channel looks at everything from fashion tips to watch reviews to how-to guides and watch history. So I'm going to start with a question. What makes a women's watch? I just want you to think about that for just a second. I'll come back to it a little bit later. So I'm going to be real for a second. If I look on Google Analytics, I can see that under 3% of all my subscribers are women, and that's pretty much the same across the whole of the watch channel community. Personally, I think there's a reason for that, and it might not be a popular opinion, but watches, I know for my girlfriend and for a lot of females, a boring subject that you don't really care that much about. In fact, the watch community as a whole is probably one of the smallest communities on YouTube. If you have a look at gaming channels, for example, you've got channels that have only been running for a year and they've got nearly 1 million subscribers. And the same could be said for fashion channels. Now, women have lots of different fashion items. They have jewellery of all types, they've got handbags, shoes. Men, we only really have shoes and watches. And I've spoken to hundreds of women over the years about what they find important in a watch. And generally it comes down to 3 things. 1, the aesthetic, which is very subjective. Some people like a sporty sports watch aesthetic, some like a dainty aesthetic. 2, the functionality. Is it easy to tell the time? I know most people use the phones nowadays. And 3, is it comfortable and durable? So I've got a watch for you today that is from a company called Long Island. Now, Long Island watches don't tend to get reviewed a hell of a lot in the YouTube community. Now, I don't know if that's because they don't give out watches for free to review. I don't know if it's because some channels have a preference over micro brands that don't homage as much. Long Island at the moment produce most of their watches from discontinued Seiko models. But there's a really good case for why you should buy the watch I'm going to show you today. So please bear with me. I know this might be a little bit boring compared to a fashion channel, but again, bear with me. Hopefully it'll be worth it. Now, you may be looking for a watch for yourself if you're one of that 3% of viewers. Or if you're the other 97%, which are men, you might be looking for a watch as a gift or a birthday present, etc. Now, in the 90s and early 2000s, if you were looking for a women's watch, it'd probably be looking something like this. Now, this is one of my girlfriend's old watches that I actually gifted to her for a birthday present. It's an Armani watch, and it is really good, but they tend to be quartz movements, they tend to be quite dainty, good for a dress occasion, but a little bit fragile apart from that. Now, most likely your own watches or your partner's watches do consist of some fashion watch brands like Michael Kors or Gucci. And I'm not going to insult anyone in the watch community by saying the reason why fashion watches are not as good as good automatic watch brands. But you kind of have to ask yourself, if you wouldn't buy a fashion watch for yourself, then why would you buy one for your partner? I've got a 6.5-inch wrist and I struggle sometimes with watches. Now, I can wear 42mm dive watches, but the lug to lug has to be under 50mm. And when I look at ladies' watches, I don't necessarily look at a style, because I think that a lot of women really enjoy dive watches, some really enjoy Feligas, a lot of women really enjoy tool watches, but they're just not enough of them that are of a high enough quality in their size. So I asked you at the beginning of the video, what do you feel makes a women's watch? And to put the comment in the section below. And for me, my opinion personally is it doesn't really matter what the aesthetic is. It just comes down to 2 things. The actual face of the watch, I think it needs to be 38mm and below. And the lug to lug distance needs to be comparable to the wrist size. So really it needs to be not that long. There's a Hamilton khaki field watch that I use personally, and the watch face is probably the right size for my girlfriend to wear, but the lug to lug just hangs over the wrist. So as a 6.5-inch wrist myself, which is quite small, I always think probably looking at more of a 6-inch or less for a women's watch. If it's too big for me, it's definitely going to be too big for a woman's watch. Now the watch we're going to see today is an Islander 38mm dive watch, and it's a homage of the SKX 013, which doesn't exist anymore. The story behind this one is quite simple. We went to Budapest just before the pandemic, and we went into a Seiko dealer. It was for myself. I was looking for a Seiko to bring back with me. Spoke to the AD. I've got to be honest, I had a pretty bad experience. He was a little bit snobby. He looked at the Casio that was on my wrist at the time, and I probably would have been willing to spend about £700-800 on a watch on that day. But we did manage to have a look at a Seiko 013, and they had one in stock there, and I was quite surprised, and I tried it on and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was a perfect size. But the surprise was that my girlfriend wanted to try the watch on. Now, she tried this quite sporty watch on, and to be fair, she's a very sporty person. She's into a lot of fitness, so it's not a surprise that she wants something rugged and a bit robust, but I never really thought that she would like the Seiko 013. I just thought it would be a little bit chunky. She tried it on and it was absolutely perfect. It looked great, she felt great with it on, and to be fair, if it wasn't for the AD, I probably would have picked it up there and then in black. So we came home and I kind of felt a little bit let down by the experience, and I felt like I'd missed out. Then I got a notification from Mark at Long Island Watches, and he already had a 38mm dive watch that was in pink for I think it was women's cancer or breast cancer awareness at the time. Really great charity, by the way. But my girlfriend's favourite colour is purple. She's not really into pink. It's a little bit too girly for her. She's not like a really girly girl. This is going to be the perfect birthday gift. It's an 013 in purple. We can have it personalised. It'll be absolutely spot on. And she absolutely loves it. It's a favourite watch. I would highly recommend it to anyone. It was delivered quickly. We did have to pay probably about £42 in import tax, so just be aware that you'll get stung with that from anyone abroad that delivers something over £120. But the quality is fantastic, and being completely honest, I kind of wanted to get it so I could check out the quality for myself and see if I was going to buy one also. So here's the watch, the Islander 38mm automatic purple dive watch, and the reference number is ISL 64. Width is 38mm. The thickness is 13.5mm. If you include the double dome sapphire, it's 15.5mm thick. To lug, 44.5mm in width. So it fits really nicely to the wrist. Just be aware that there are some male end links attached to the case. There's a 4 o'clock crown, which is 6mm, so nice size for grippiness, and it's screwed down with a signed crown. Bezel is 36.5mm wide. It's got a coin edge to the bezel. It's 120 click, unidirectional, and it has a loomed sapphire insert with superluminova. Screw down crown has crown guards and gives it a 200 meters water resistance. It powers the NH36 Seiko movement, which has 24 joules. It's automatic, so it'll wind as you move the watch. It hacks so that time stops when you set it, and it also hand winds, and it's got a 41-hour power reserve. Also mention that the stainless steel case back is engraved with the Islander logo as well. It's got really smooth action, pops out nicely. First position, hand winding. Second position, day date. And third position, setting the time. Now, one thing I really like about this Islander is the bracelet. There's been very little expense spared on it. So it's a solid link Jubilee bracelet. Feels really solid, but it's really comfortable still. It's got solid end links, screw pins rather than push pins, which is a nice touch. 3 levels of micro adjust, which I think is pretty decent for a watch of this size. It's a milled scissor clasp with some side pushers, obviously a flip over. Now the bracelet itself is 20 millimeters at the top, which tapers down to 16 millimeters, back up to 17.5 at the clasp without the pushers, and it's got drilled lugs, so really easy to swap onto a strap. Now, some watches are aimed specifically at women, so these ones on the left, we'll probably get rid of those. It should really be based on style and size, and these should all really be unisex. Now, my Hamilton Khaki is a 38mm watch, the same as this, but you've just got to be careful sometimes with sizing because the lug to lugs is 47mm. You should go for a watch under 42mm with a 45mm lug to lug max if you're a woman. And these are some of the watches that myself and my girlfriend share together, so plenty of choice. You can see there's a bit of a theme. Casio and Seiko do a lot of really great watches for smaller wrists. So if you're buying a watch for yourself, or if you're buying a watch for your wife or girlfriend, please consider an alternative to the usual fashion watch. If you've not already, have a look at Long Island watches. Mark is really friendly, he gets back to people, and I've heard great things about his customer service. The quality of the products is really high. I think what he's doing at the moment is brilliant. For some unknown reason, he seems to come under some sort of attack from people for doing a Seiko Saab / Rolex Datejust homage, which I think is a fantastic thing, and I can't understand why anybody would have a problem with that. They didn't have a problem when he was just homaging Seiko SKXs previously. And it's not like I'm in the US, he's not on my doorstep, but he seems genuinely decent guy who's got a family business that he's taken over. So help the guy out and have a look on his website. I'll put some descriptions in the link below. Since starting the channel, I've actually had some really good conversations with some new subscribers and some people who've introduced themselves to me. And I'm always interested in learning more about horology and more about the community, and I'd love to know a little bit more about which great women's watches are out there at the moment, or which great unisex watches are out there, because I've got a smaller wrist. We tend to share a lot of our watches between myself and my girlfriend. So if you've got any suggestions, put them in the comments below. As always, thank you for your time. I've really enjoyed doing these videos. We've got some tutorial videos on the basics for people that are new to horology, and we've also got some other reviews if you'd like to check them out. Please click the bell icon. If you like the content, like and subscribe. It does help me in the channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye.